Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special 10th episode of Faithful Fables. And today it's going to be a little bit different. We're doing an interview with a writer and director who is very live theater driven. So he writes and directs for live theater. He started doing theater with Manitoba's Passion Play. He now works for Steinbach Bible College, looking after their theater department, but primarily he works for Candlewick Productions, and that is a live theater company. And so this is going to be a little bit of a different episode. This was an interview recorded over a phone call, and so the audio has been mastered, but if it sounds a little bit off, that is why, so just keep that in mind. So yeah, and we'll kind of get into it in the episode and we'll talk about it after, but this was kind of very fitting for Faithful Fables, and so I hope you enjoy it. Now, without further ado, Richard Klassen. Okay, so I guess start off by kind of introducing yourself and how you got into kind of writing and directing.
Sure. My name is Richard Klassen. I am a theater artist, producer, director from southern Manitoba. My home community is Laurivière, although I do theater in a number of communities, including Manitou at the Opera House and at the Kenmore Theater in Morden, as well as in Steinbach with the Bible College, where I am the adjunct theater professor there. In terms of how I came about getting involved with theater, I think when I was a young kid, I had the opportunity to play like it was a passing role. I think it was a deer or a tree in Snow White, and that was my first experience with being on stage, and I thoroughly loved the idea of storytelling,
Nice.
the idea of creating something for the audience to enjoy through drama. And of course, we all enjoy our movies and the different theater, but I tend to be a little bit more live theater driven. I love live theater. And over the years, got to do that more and more in high school. I went to college, and even though graduated with a Bachelor of Theology, I still took as many theater courses as I could, and then from there took additional side classes in theater, and then eventually just stepped into it. Started doing theater. Was involved with Manitoba's Passion Play at the Outdoor Theater in Laurivière, and got hired by Steinbach Bible College to look after their drama and theater department. So that's a very quick
Mm-hmm.
overview of my involvement and how I am where I am today.
All right, very nice. Yeah, no, that's good. Um, and you work for Candlewick Productions, is that correct?
That's right. Candlewick is we do theater in southern Manitoba, both in church settings or Christian settings, as well as we run a studio out of Morden, where in Manitou, where we do a number of we teach theater and we have a dance studio. So we are involved with the arts and connecting kids to being able to get on stage and giving them those opportunities to mount the stage, be able to learn how to gain that confidence to be in front of people, and then to express themselves either through theater or through dance.
Very nice, very nice. It's kind of nice to have something like that for the communities, I think.
Yes, and something when I was growing up, I know I had that opportunity through school, but not all the communities in southern Manitoba have that, and to be able to connect kids and to be, uh, I know I get to hang out with young people of all different ages, so keeps me young at heart to be able to hang out with them and to put presentations on stage.
Oh, for sure, yeah. All right, well, um, I guess the point of this interview was to talk about your drama for Cross or Country.
Okay.
Um, and so could you kind of tell us a little bit what this story is about?
Sure thing. I'm going to back up with a little bit of a background story to it. When I was involved at the college, of course, I teach theater at the college, and received. We were talking about what we want to do in the upcoming years, and I received a bit of a mandate from our academic dean, Leighton Friesen, as something that we could do to commemorate or celebrate the 500th year of the Anabaptist movement that happened. And so he asked if I would write a play with that in mind, to get involved with the research and write the play that would tell a story. And we weren't necessarily aiming to have a historically, this is historic event that actually happened, but rather a story that would share with our audiences some of the ideas that were and the situations that were happening during that time when those first Anabaptists started coming out and speaking up for their beliefs in a point where, well, it started off with the whole peasants' revolt, and where they were trying to stand up for themselves against this idea of the royalty and a higher uh, class that would dictate what the lower classes should do, and
Right.
out. And then, of course, that was more of a socio-economical type of a situation.
Hmm.
And then there was also those that were starting to, of course, the Bible was just translated into German, so people were starting to read the Bible for themselves and coming to an understanding of what it was saying and how they would then react to that. So instead of having a number of theologians on stage speaking about their different ideas as to and their struggle with the church and with some of these ideas like infant baptism and pacifism and some of these other ideas that came out of that movement, we wanted to set it in the lives of just everyday people.
Right.
Like the local farmer, the local ironsmith. It's in a small town where people connect with each other and talk with each other about day to day life, and they live life out. And when they have these ideas, then confront them, and they're having to deal with these thoughts and these new and how the state was reacting to them and how the
Mhm.
church was reacting to them. How do you react to these situations and
Right.
these new concepts? And so there's a lot of what if, and how would you respond in a situation like this, and how would we even today respond? Like there's um, similar thoughts and themes that perked up, like even today. How do we
Mhm.
deal with our beliefs in today's society? So
Right.
that's a bit of a background to the overall story of the play.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and having seen the play, I enjoyed that it was kind of a small town setting and kind of like, now how does this affect my life and my family? And yeah, like kind of what you were saying, like how are you going to respond to what's happening? Um,
Yes.
and and yeah, I think it is definitely relevant in a lot of areas today. I mean, even thinking of my own life, um, I do still sometimes struggle with the idea of pacifism and like, how much should we defend ourselves physically? And
Yeah.
it is still a struggle for some people. And so I think that it also helps at least me to kind of rethink some of these things and like actually now go study like, okay, how should I respond?
Yeah.
And so I think it did a good job capturing that.
Oh,
And
well, and I think part of it too, we recognize that when you put it in a setting like that, where it's a little bit more, it's, I'm going to use the word earthy. Like it's down to earth, right? It's a little bit more grungy. Some of the ideas don't always pop out perfect that first time, right?
Mhm.
Well, it sometimes takes a few. It takes a little bit of time for people's minds to get wrapped around. Like, would I take up arms to protect? What about protecting my family?
Mhm.
How, Jesus, he went to the cross and he did not. He was led to the cross like a lamb led to slaughter, right?
Mhm.
Um, how do you translate that into your own life?
Right.
And then there's other parts of the Bible where, yeah, they were commanded to clear the country so that the sin or the lifestyle of certain type of people, like that were living in the land and
Yeah.
they were sacrificing babies, they needed to get rid of that so that they could be focused more on Yahweh, on God.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think the idea of having it kind of in that setting, I think it got the point across better than, let's say, you did a Reformation play and you did it from Martin Luther's perspective. I think like something like this, like a smaller setting, small town, small family, like I think that just gets the point across in a different way. And I think it was probably a better choice.
Oh, thank you. And I'm glad to hear you say that. Then our job, our goal was achieved then, right?
Hmm.
It's good to hear that. And that was what we wanted. You can talk about it sitting around a table, right?
Right.
But when it hits home, like you're actually asked, like if the government's coming and they're asking you to send, conscription, and they're asking you to send your son off to war, like I remember stories of the conscientious objectors during World War II, right?
Mm.
And they didn't just stay home. They had to serve in prison or in work camps
Right.
to make up for the fact that they weren't going to war. And how does that affect families? How does that affect, I'm losing my boy to not to war, but as a result of war.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things it's different when that happens as compared to talking around the table.
Totally. Yeah. And so I guess I'm wondering, what did the writing process look like? Like, did you consult with some of the professors at the Bible college and kind of go from there?
Yeah, so at the very start, I had a few interviews with Leighton, and of course he's a theologian, and he's actually written a book on Anabaptism. So a lot of this, because I'm not a I won't profess to be any stretch of the mind like a historian or a theologian that knows all these details and can write it down and know exactly
Mm.
how the theology should come out. So
Right. Yeah.
so I got to interview Leighton at first, and then from there I started reading different books that have been written. I was able to consult I tried to consult a whole variety of different types of people for different perspectives. I had a friend who's from the Catholic background who was very gracious in being able to sit down and come at me with ideas and thoughts and reactions as to
Mhm.
how the Catholic Church would look at it. And then I also had some friends who are very Anabaptist who shared some of their ideas and thoughts, and then also some friends who they weren't necessarily the theologians, but they had the gift of storytelling, and we were able to, they could ask me questions. Well, what about this and what about that? And in the end, I had a very good group of some of the professors at the Bible College, as well as some friends and other individuals and artists who were able to read parts of the script, give advice, offer ideas, which always makes that playwriting process all the more like it's what there's oftentimes you can tell a story, and if it's your story and you're telling it, you can often do that without getting other people's ideas, but
Right.
will it connect with your audience, right?
Hmm.
So that connection with the audience and making sure that I was getting the right thoughts and ideas down, that was important to me.
Right. And I think it's actually a good thing to, consult those different viewpoints. Like you said, you spoke with your Catholic friend and that I think that's a smart way to go about it, just to so it's not like it's you know just so heavy in the Anabaptist theology, and it's just like that's
Yeah,
all you're getting, right? Like
yeah.
it's nice to have that other perspective, especially if the one of the goals is to get people thinking.
Well, for sure. Like if you want a solid argument, you'll need to have two sides to that argument, right?
Yeah.
And here I was very grateful to have my this one fella. We texted and emailed back and forth, and I even okay, I'm going to come up with an idea as if we're having a conversation. So I'd throw him a question, and he would throw back a thought or a viewpoint, and we would go back and forth like that.
Right.
And in the process, we didn't lose our friendship. It was
Of course.
we actually got together later on, and we had a good time talking about it. And I sent him the script to read through certain sections, and he was very helpful, very
Nice.
and also to honor like the Catholic Church. They weren't evil, trying to be evil. These were honest to good people that were sticking up for their faith as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. And so I guess what would be your view on using, I guess in your case, like dramas, but think like mediums like drama or different kind of art like books or movies, even TV shows, using those kind of mediums to share like um, theology and apologetics in like a through a fictional story. Like what would be your general thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I'll be honest right from the start. I do love theater. So I'm going to have that bias, of
Of course.
course.
Yeah.
But but there is that power, and you even when you read the New Testament and when Jesus is talking in parables,
Hmm.
or and you see the Bible's filled with all sorts of literary, like whether it's parables or metaphors, and there's different things that the teachers use to help tell the story. Like even I was able to study in Israel for a short period of time, and our instructor was an archaeologist. He brought to light certain things, and he said, Jesus is talking about this. And you're wondering, well, why is he talking about this at this instant? For example, I am the bread of life, or I am the vine, and you are the branches. And of course, when you read that in John, it's during that period of time. Well, it's just during or after the Last Supper, right? And our instructor said, what would have caused him to use this analogy? And then he brought us to the he brought to our attention the fact that Jesus is talking about the vine and the branches, just as he's on his way from the Last Supper to, or it could have been, we don't know for 100%, but it could have been, he's on his way from the upper room to Gethsemane, to the garden,
Hmm.
and what's in between those two? Well, that's the Temple Mount. And if you're walking over the Temple Mount and you're looking at the temple and you're admiring the temple, what was engraved on above the door of the temple? Well, there was these images of grapes and vines over the doorway, right? So as Jesus is walking across, he's pulling something that the disciples could identify. They could tangibly see that,
Right.
and he says, okay, this is your life, this is life in general. I'm going to try and bring a truth and bring that into your everyday life in a way that is tangible for you. It's easier to understand, right?
Hmm.
And I feel that sometimes theology, it's important, it's good, but sometimes it can get very heady. It's in our brains, and there, I sometimes we get, it's all about that, it's in our brains and it doesn't translate into our bodies, into
Hmm.
our lives. Uh, and and there's sometimes where I've needed that extra little bit. Well, what are you talking about? I don't get this, right?
Hmm.
And then they'll use something. Well, on the farm you do this, and oh, now I get it, right?
Right. Yeah.
uh, and then there's also that idea of storytelling, which can really, like the parables, when you tell a good story and the people get into the story, and they're touched by that story, they're going to remember that all the more, because there's something about the audience connecting with the actors on stage in a way that they feel for the characters and they understand what the characters are going through. And as that happens, as that unfolds, then a good story is presented.
Right.
And the point of the story also, it doesn't need to be preached, it doesn't need to be explained in detail. It's just all of a sudden it reveals itself. And good stories are like that, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think even in this play that you wrote, it didn't feel preachy. It was very much just like this is the situation they're going through, and then you get to now think about it. It wasn't
Yeah.
very much like I didn't leave there feeling like, oh, I better think a certain way now, and so
That's good.
I think it was well done in that way. But I think there's also something to be said for kind of what you said studying in Israel. Um, like I didn't know what you were like what you said there. I had no idea. And so just like having that cultural context, I think also helps because now that you've explained that, well, yeah, that makes sense that he would
Eh,
explain it in a way that now they could grasp for
Yep,
themselves.
yep. And there's other, like when Jesus is teaching in the boat and he's talking about being fishers of men.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden you're hearing be fishers of men. Well, what does that mean? And you're looking at this fisherman in the boat, catching fish.
Hmm.
And well, okay, so what does that mean to catch people? There's all sorts of little things like that that help to just bring the it brings it to life. And it makes it, like I said, it's more tangible, more, and you can eat it in little doses as you go along, and as you chew on it, it becomes more real.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I mean, I'm part of what this my podcast is kind of exploring is this idea of I guess what they call imaginative apologetics. And it's kind of
Mm,
exactly that thing where it's like using story or using art in ways to share your faith and share the gospel
mm,
and stuff like that. And as I'm looking into it, I'm seeing it actually as a very useful tool. I mean, even going through the Narnia series, like, the idea that, well, Aslan is clearly, representing God, or Jesus,
mhm,
but just the idea when I was studying, it was just that, it's not like just an analogy to Jesus, but like C.S. Lewis actually wrote it in the mindset that like, well, what if there was this other world, and in that world, God sent Jesus as a lion. Like, what would
sure.
happen? Right.
Yeah.
So, just based off of that idea, and you're still getting the gospel messages, it's very clear. It's just
Mhm.
from this other viewpoint of like, what would it look like if this?
Yep.
And I think
And
that's, yeah.
and each of us, we're all made different, right? We all connect with things differently.
Hmm.
Some they, a good sermon, they can really get their head around that. Some, well, even if you look at kids, you can sometimes tell a kid not to do something, but that just they it just makes them want to do it all the more, right? It's just
Right.
like, well, I don't know. You can tell me why, but and then later on, you can illustrate something to the kid, and all of a sudden, there's a snap bang. Oh, now I get it. And you're kind of going, well, I just told you. It was pretty clear, and you don't get it. But now I can tell, I explain it in a different way, or it's more creative, and then it sticks. And yeah, and it's the wonderful thing about us humans is that we're all so different, and we take in things in different ways, and yet we can still worship the same God, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think as long as the core of the theology is still accurate, we can, I think it's okay that we can use these different mediums to tell that, to tell that truth, right?
Sure.
um nice. Okay, so I guess, is there somewhere that people could now that the play is done, is there a way that people could watch it now after the fact?
That's a good question. In fact, we did videotape the way,
Okay.
and there is someone that's we're just in the process of getting them to edit it. I've had a few people ask about that process. Is there a way to see it now that the play is finished?
Yeah.
So that is one of the ideas which we are looking into right now is, do we have a video format that could be shared? I've also been asked if this could be presented in other locations, if other groups would like to do the play themselves, which that is also, uh, if another group wants to try that out, there's opportunity for that as well.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I mean, that would be nice, even thinking for myself, to be able to go back and watch it again. I thought it was very well done, and I think even the casting, I think it was very, very well, like, just put together in general. uh,
And the casting, there was a few things that happened
okay.
that some of the characters they found. Um, Certain characters were chosen from the start to play just who they were going to be, but then we
Right.
had a couple changes, and the way it all turned out in the end, I I will have to give that to the Holy Spirit's leading in terms of
Mm.
that. They had that all worked itself out on its own.
Okay, very nice. Well, was there anything that kind of went wrong during the whole process?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Did anything go wrong? I I won't say that any we had some, little challenges along the way in terms of there was a few as I was writing, there was sometimes I would write a couple of pages worth and decide, no, this isn't what I would want, so it totally changed it. But that's part of that whole playwriting process, right?
Right.
In terms of the sets, we had a great, like the school and the high school share facilities, so we had a great relationship with both sides that they were able to allow us to put sets up and with the church that meets on Sunday morning. So we actually with this run, there was I can't say that there was anything that went wrong or that was over hard to work through. I think we were very blessed to have a good run.
Nice. Oh, that's good to hear. Um, and I'm thinking of some extra questions now as we're talking, but
Hmm.
uh, how how important is the Holy Spirit to you during, and not even just the writing process, but even just like the whole process of putting a drama together, as like in every step? Like how important is his involvement for you?
Okay, that would be something like in the process of writing, especially when I was asked if I would be willing to consider this. I think at first I went, oh, ooh, ee, I don't know if I feel comfortable because I don't I'm not the I'm not a theologian. I'm not a historian.
Yeah.
But when you have lots of different uh, voices that different people that you can interview, that helps with that process. But there's, you know, would God be if we believe that there's a God that exists out there and that he provides the Holy Spirit to allow us to commune with him and to guide and shape our lives, it just makes sense that to involve, to allow the Holy Spirit to work. And there's oftentimes in life that you're aiming, you're going down life's journey. And as you're going along, things happen, and you can pray about things and you can connect with people about things. And sometimes there will be a hiccup along the way, and that hiccup might reset your tracks into a different groove. And it's amazing in the final product just where. You get to be led in that journey, right? And of course, the Holy Spirit, being open to the Holy Spirit's leading, especially for me in a project like this, um, yeah, that's to be open to God's leading is that's part of the process, right? Especially if you're dealing with theology, you
Hmm.
need or a play that involves the historical telling of Christians and what they went through.
Right.
Y- Yeah, because I wasn't there. I wasn't able to actually sit through and watch things happen. I don't have a time machine, so
Hmm.
the time machine is God or the Holy Spirit, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's good. I think that's important. Even as I try to put my episodes together for my own show, I try to have that in mind and just be prayerful through the whole process, and like because I don't want to get anything wrong. I don't want to
Yeah,
lead
yeah,
anybody astray, and if I do, then I want to also be open to now publicly saying like, hey, I got this wrong. Here's
yeah.
the correction, right? Like I want to be open to that as well. And so,
Well, it's kind of like the Bishop Matthias saying, it's better if a millstone be tied around their necks than something be taught wrong or
right.
to be incorrect theology. So yeah, I very much I feel that weight from time to time when you're writing a play for a setting like that, and you you need if you're writing it about God, then you need his involvement in there. And
Totally.
I've been very blessed over the years to have to know that things have gone well, and I won't claim I won't claim that it was my as a result of what I've done, but rather that God's worked in despite me.
Hmm. Totally. Oh, that's very good. I think I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Is there any okay, maybe it's a two-part question. Is there any current or future projects you're working on, and are you working on any more original stories?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, as soon as we were finished at the Bible College, was involved with a couple other shows. We had I worked both within a church and Bible college sphere as well as within the secular sphere.
Mhm.
The and we connect with all sorts of different people. So right now, we just finished, or last weekend, we finished a show, a collaborative work that was with a number of different community people in up from Altona and Morden, and we were performing at the gas station in Winnipeg. It was a collaborative, a- artistic retelling, or kind of like a sci-fi Alice in Wonderland type of a play.
Oh,
So that one we finished last weekend, and then this coming weekend, we because with the studio, we created a play in which it was the our grades 1 to 6 students. They act out the characters in Snow White, and then our dance studio, they come in at certain points. So there'll be a scene in which there's some bandits in the forest that are running from the authorities. So there'll be a
mm,
dance, a hip hop dance with the different characters, and of course it's created to be more for the kids.
right.
And then in 2 weeks' time, we are doing a parody of Corner Gas.
Oh,
It's
nice.
called Corner Gassed, so as a dinner theater. So, and we're having lots of fun with that one.
Okay.
And then right after Christmas in January, we're doing Pride and Prejudice with our senior high group from the Morden area. And then that leads into Valentine's and all sorts of spring shows,
Mm.
and it just keeps going. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It sounds like it's fairly nonstop. It's fairly steady, it sounds like.
Yes, very much so.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's good. I guess that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it definitely keeps us hopping, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
So do you have any originals like that you're working on, like any writing that
Oh,
you're doing?
good question. The For crossing country was a big one that I focused in on for the fall, and then of course Snow White was also as our own dramatic take, and
Okay.
it's written specifically for the characters there. I have been toying with some ideas for the future, not anything that's really current, like in the next month or two.
Hmm.
We were um, we we have been toying with the idea of doing a musical at some point. I have a few contacts that we've made as a result of this last production that we've done, that talking about the idea of a possible musical and what that musical could be, whether it's all from scratch or whether there's something that I've written. There's a couple of plays that I've written in the past, whether we could adapt them into a musical.
Hmm.
So there's a few projects on the go. There's nothing 100% confirmed.
Right.
I think I'm probably in that resting stage, and then we'll start to dream of the next shows. Quick, there, I do have a number of plays that I want to work at over the next number of years,
Okay.
but one step at a time. Some of them are faith based, and some of them will be more just they're meant for pure entertainment.
Okay. Oh, very good. That's it. That's all I have. I appreciate you taking the time uh, to answer some of these questions and just to chat.
Well, and thank you for reaching out. It's great connecting with you, and I know we didn't meet in person per se, but yeah, to meet over the waves.
Yes, of course. Okay. Well, thank you, Richard. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Faithful Fables. I wanted to do a little bit something special for the 10th episode, and when this interview came up, I thought, man, this has to be the 10th episode. So thank you so much. And again, special thank you to Richard for taking the time to do the interview and talk about a few things. And I could have kept talking for a while. I mean, it was a really fun experience. Both of us, before the actual recording started, both of us had said that we had never done this before. And so I'm glad that we could have done that and that we could have done it on this platform. And so, yeah, I mean, with writing the play like this, I thought, man, this is going to be perfect because we're taking a fictional story, but we're also, there's an underlying theme of theology and apologetics in here, whether you agree with it or not. This is a theology. And so I thought if I could interview him, that would be really great for the show. So yeah, here we are, and I'm glad that we got to do this. And so if everyone could go and check out candlewick.ca, that's Richard's website. So if you go to candlewick.ca, you can see all their current projects and probably some future projects as well. And yeah, go check out some of the plays. It's a good production. I can say that from experience. So thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you guys in the next episode, and we'll get back to more Prince Caspian. So until then, stay faithful.